So we are starting the session, Professional Styling in the Zoom Era, with Nina Means, Director of the Fashion Incubator at Austin Community College. Thank you so much for joining us today on this live Zoom session. There's so much important information to cover in such little time, but we do know that fashion and wearing professional wear during interviews and just in a job environment is super important. So I'm going to hand it off to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the warm introduction. Again, my name is Nina Means. I'm the director for ACC Fashion Incubator, and it is a pleasure to be here for Adulting 101. This is a group of sessions and tabling and exercises for students to really learn what it takes to start their adult life, their adult career. And so I've gotten a chance to talk with a lot of different departments here that are doing incredible work to serve our students. And so, thank you so much for including the Fashion Incubator in this session. We are going to talk about professional styling, but before we get into that, I'm going to just take a second to tell you a little bit about our business here at the Fashion Incubator. So the Fashion Incubator was started, I'm going to go back just a minute here. The Fashion Incubator was started with a grant from the City of Austin that partnered with Gerber Technology and created a fashion incubator here at ACC to serve the local fashion industry. We've been able to work with up to 26 brands across 2 different programs that have really been able to see new traction across their business. We're excited to invite some of our US brands to Egypt for the first time at the end of May, early June, and we've seen a couple of our brands from the very first cohort of the Design in Residence program get picked up for New York Fashion Week, as well as the Fashion Incubator at Macy's starting in April of this year. So we're really excited about our brands, most of which are here in Austin, and a handful of them that are in Cairo, Egypt, with another project that we run. One of the programs that I really wanted to highlight, though, as a part of what we do at the Fashion Incubator is, we're really about helping creatives think about what does it mean to start a fashion business. That's really what we're known for. We support workforce development and helping designers understand how to use resources that are a part of our digital future in fashion. But we really do focus on building small business, leveraging fashion technology to support sustainable brands that are really helping to really launch the fashion brands of the future. So the program, The Future of Fashion, is sponsored by Macy's, and this is a 7-week series that anyone can take. It's a free series offered by Macy's that allows us to be able to help creatives think about what does it take to start a fashion label. So, entrepreneurship, understanding sustainability, product development, these are things that we do in order to help our fashion creatives think about what does it mean to really start a fashion business. If you want to become a brand, you want to become a fashion house, what does that mean to you? So that class is free. It starts on April 13th. We received a grant from Macy's to launch that course 3 times this year. So the very first one of the year will be April 13th. It'll run for 7 weeks, once a week, for 2 hours each time. It's like a Wednesday night course. It's virtual, so anyone can participate. You'll want to go into eventbrite.com and type in ACC Fashion Incubator and Macy's, and that course will pop up, and you can just register on Eventbrite. So that's a really quick one. It's easy to find. We would love to see you. We get most of our students from Central Texas, but we've had them as far as Houston and as far as Las Vegas for that class. And so feel free to register for that course. It's a really great way to understand what we do in the fashion industry. But the reason why I'm here, welcome. The reason why, thank you. This is the April 13th course. Actually, I do want to take a minute and kind of park here. We've got some new visitors that I'd love to tell all about this class. In April, if you are curious about what it takes to launch a fashion business, we have a Macy's-sponsored course that will help you understand what it means to go from being a creative to actually starting a fashion label. That course is free. It's offered at night, so you can like log on. It's on Eventbrite. You can definitely get a chance to do that. You guys can see the replay. But on Eventbrite, just put in ACC Fashion Incubator and Macy's, and that class will come up. 7 weeks, 2 hours a week. It's an exciting course. So the next, so the reason why I'm here, the reason why I'm here is because we are curious about what does it mean to have professional styling for work. How do we put ourselves together to go work in the office or at, maybe we're working with a tech agency, or maybe we are in a community-based organization, whatever it is that we've chosen to do with our time. Dressing for work in a Zoom era has been something that's completely changed the way that we show up at work. A lot of what we do is about kind of above the keyboard dressing. So if you've seen some of these like funny videos on social media where someone is wearing like a blazer on top and they're wearing like leggings or sweatpants on the bottom, these are kind of the things where it's like whatever is visible on the camera is what we've really kind of decided to dress for. So a lot of tops, a lot of blazers, little button downs, things of that nature for kind of more, business official, kinds of things. But what I really wanted to get across during our time today was, really kind of giving you an opportunity to kind of leapfrog, over the course of this session to think about, what are some of the areas that you could kind of go past some possible mistakes of, how you show up for different kinds of businesses. How do you show up that feels natural and normal to you? As well as something that's appropriate for the business that you're going to go work for. Whenever I first started working, one of the things that I thought that I absolutely needed was a suit, or I thought that I had to wear a pair of slacks for that interview. And for some interviews, they would prefer something like that. But as I started working more and more, I found that there were other things that were also appropriate for interviews. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like. I'm going to involve you guys a little bit into this. Do you guys understand that phrase, what does it mean? They understood the assignment. Are we familiar with this phrase? Can someone tell me what does it mean to understand the assignment? What does it mean when she understood the assignment? Uh-huh. Yes. Exactly. More than what they asked for. You go above and beyond what was required. Oh, we have a microphone coming around. Thank you. Oh. Do you want to say it one more time?
Sure. It's like it's just like going above and beyond. So like giving 110% with what they give you, what they expect from you, basically.
Yes. There's some key pieces of that. So going above and beyond what they expect from you, and what do they expect from you? What do they expect? I don't. To look professional. Okay. What else could they expect from you? That's a good one. It's very good. Let's go with that. To look professional and go above and beyond. Okay. That's what we're going to focus on. So we're going to learn what that means in different businesses. All right. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this from 3 different angles. Okay. So how do I dress for the job? What is your personal style? I'm going to poll the audience here in a minute. We are going to talk about what kind of industry do you work in? And then we're going to talk about what is the brand of the agency or business that you will work for. And that's kind of a funny one. I've got a good story for that. What are some of the things that people tell you that you should wear for an interview? What kinds of things have you heard? Anybody? And we'll have a microphone come around. Oh, yeah. A suit. I'll let you say it in the...
A suit?
Yes, a suit.
A
that
tie.
Is...
Classic dress shoes.
Very good. Yep, absolutely. Suit, a tie, classic dress shoes. What else do we hear that we should wear for our interviews?
They usually say, like, at least for girls, they'll say like skirts, they'll say dresses, they'll say nice slacks, and then like sandals or something like of that. A nice blouse, I guess, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. These are really good answers. Anybody else? Those are excellent answers. That is, I was jotting down some things of what people told me to wear as well. And I honestly came up with a lot of the same things that you did. But, whenever early in my career, I was told a lot of things as well in terms of like how I should wear my hair, what kinds of things I should do in terms of like makeup, or not makeup, or jewelry or not jewelry, or, colors of ties to wear, or colors of shirts to wear. And I wasn't always getting the same information from everybody, right? Because everyone's got a different idea about what that should look like. Since I first started interviewing, the Crown Act has been passed, and it actually allows you to wear your natural hair if you have curly hair, or if you wear braids, or if you wear, locks. There's a lot of different options now in terms of what looks professional, what's accepted as professional. And so whenever you think about, being more inclusive at work, being more equitable at work, we are now able to really express ourselves in some ways that maybe we weren't able to express ourselves before. Are you guys familiar with the Crown Act? Have you heard of this? It's a piece of legislation that allows people who have naturally curly hair to wear it naturally curly. It's a law that they're allowed to do it, and that they can't be discriminated against for wearing their hair that way. Isn't that something? But we needed legislation. I want to hear your comment. I'm going to give you the microphone.
Just going to say there were people obviously that were discriminated against or were not able to get employed because of the way that they wore their hair, or fired because of the way they wore their hair. So that's kind of why the law was created.
Absolutely. So clearly we know that your hair doesn't affect your ability to think or to be able to make a meaningful impact at work, right? And so now this has given us freedom to show up as we are, more authentic, in our workspaces without being discriminated against, based solely on our appearance. This is very good, and this is great for when we're thinking about what are the different ways we show up for professional styling. So I want to ask you guys, what's your personal style like? Are you trendy or classic or a little bit of both? Who thinks they're trendy? Who thinks be trendy. All right. Who thinks that they are classic style, classic beauty, chocolate chip cookie, like the ultimate, yes, classic beauty. Then who feels like they are the best of both? A good mix, right? We like all the things, we're like, I want a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then sometimes I like this color, but sometimes I don't. So we get a chance to kind of mix and match a little bit. We're a little bit best of both. This is great for work because you can mix in things that are a little bit trendy with things that are not. I used some of these pictures as illustrations and kind of the backdrop. Oh, thank you. You couldn't see those. I use these as illustration, as a little bit of a backdrop to show you a few different types of ways that you can show up and still be considered very professional. Some of them are they're suit jackets. There are turtlenecks, or kind of a more conservative top or blouse. There are casual sport jackets, or being able to just wear a simple button down. This top, the white top here, is actually kind of like a wrap blouse that's kind of imitating the collar of a jacket. So it's not a real jacket, it's just this kind of easy wrap shirt. But it's a little bit more conservative, it's got a little bit more professional edge because it's got this collar detail. The one thing that I really wanted to point out here is that the young lady at the top, she's wearing kind of that, it's a salmon-colored suit. It actually has a matching pant with it, the way she's styled it. But she's wearing her braids. She has highlights. She also has kind of a color of a suit. But this color is not a very strong color. It's not, you know, kind of an in-your-face color, but it's definitely a color. Are any of you surprised that you can wear color, a color suit for something like this? Like, oh, you know, I mean, this is a really, you know, so these are things that you can kind of add a little bit more of your personality into the clothes and make it feel more like you, but still have a more like conservative kind of cut and look, you know, for your professional, you know, look. But she definitely has her braids. She's got, you know, jewelry that she really likes. She's got a color that she really likes, but there's also, it's on a suit. So these are ways that you can kind of mix in things that you love that are a bit more trendy with things that are maybe are a bit more classic. So you're the best of both worlds, right? You're kind of holding one side or the other. So the next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is what type of industry do you work in? What kind of industries, what kind of jobs are you guys curious about? Like what kind of, I'll tell you a little bit about what I do, but I would love to know like what kinds of jobs you guys are interested in.
I'm interested in like the engineering.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yes, there's a lot of different kinds of engineers in
So,
different kinds of sites. Do you have a specific area you're curious about, or engineering's awesome?
Biochemical.
Okay, all right. I love to see women in STEM. This is great. I'm really proud of you. Anyone else? What other industries are you guys curious about?
I've thought about the business industry, maybe like marketing, because that's what I've seen like from my parents, and that's how I kind of know what would be acceptable to wear in a workplace.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, marketing is a great field to go into. You can do a lot of different industries doing marketing.
I like working with kids, so maybe like pediatric or just a job with kids in general.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of great ways to work with children, whether it's in medicine or in childcare, or like there's a lot of really amazing ways to engage. They've counselors, therapists, yes, nursing. Excellent. Excellent. Anybody else?
I was thinking about the medical field, like physical therapy, maybe. A physical therapist assistant.
Yes.
So I'm curious to see like if it would be like a uniform, or like would you be allowed to dress like however you would want. So I'm curious to see how that would work.
I got something for you. That's good. I'm glad I pulled a couple of these. You guys can probably see that I have. Actually, you cannot.
And we have a male student perspective.
Okay.
Thank you. I was thinking kind of like professional way, like banking, finance and accounting, you know, business, like CEOs, you know, how they had to look professional at any job they represent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, we're going to go into all of these. Yeah, I think I see one more. Let's go for it. Who else?
Mine's a bit different. I'm actually thinking about going to dance and like being a choreographer, so something like in that sense.
Okay. Okay, I love this. I love all of the different directions you guys are going in. I feel like I've got like kind of a special place for a lot of these spaces personally. I'll tell you a little bit about my story, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about these different industries. Go for it.
So from online, we do have Linda, who says, my own fashion design business.
Excellent. Linda, I would love to talk to you about what to wear for a fashion design business too. So my background, I actually started off in public health, and so I worked with international agencies in Washington, D.C., worked in breast cancer, I worked in global health issues and things like that. It was in an office, and then I switched my career to fashion. And so I studied abroad and came back to New York and worked in fashion in New York. So I designed for American Eagle Outfitters, and I designed for QVC for the Halston label. And so really different kinds of customer, different kind of work environment. But I bring it up because it was so important for me to understand how I would show up differently in those different industries. And so since I'd kind of gone through a bit of a career change, a bit of a chameleon, now I'm in education, now I get a chance to tell you what I did, what worked and what didn't work, and showing up into those spaces. And so you can kind of learn from my mistakes and things like that, you know, about what didn't work so great, you know, making those shifts. But, you know, whenever you think about your work industry, I kind of broke it into 3 different areas. One that's creative, one that's, you know, more office professional, and the other one that's going to be more like community-based. So you're expected to be moving around and, you know, engaging with people. Maybe you're wearing scrubs sometimes because this is kind of more community-facing, or maybe you're wearing leotards and, you know, maybe you've got a completely different, or maybe not. Maybe it's leggings and, you know, there's a lot of different things that you wear in dance now. And so there's so many different things that you wear to kind of present yourself. A lot of times, we're going to talk about it from 2 different sides. What do you wear for the interview? And then what do you wear when you go to work? Because sometimes that's a little bit different, right? So your interview is like your best foot forward, right? This is your best face forward. You still want to do your best when you show up to work. You don't want to give them kind of the bait and switch, right? You want to still be the same person they met at the interview. But the difference is that that interview is really that first impression, and you don't really get a chance to go back and fix it, you know, later. So you try to be as precise about it as possible. In the creative industry, have you guys worked on resumes at all? Have you done any of that? Well, when you work on a resume, you're going to actually tailor your resume to the job that you want to apply to. You're not going to just hand out the same resume to everybody. You're actually going to say, oh, on this job, they're looking for these qualifications, and so I'm going to go in and just tweak my details to make sure that I'm answering the questions of the things that they want to know for this particular job. Then I'm going to go back and apply for another job. And that job's going to ask me for the other side of the coin of what I just said to the last job. And I'm going to tell them about the other part of what I did at my job that makes me a good candidate for that role. You're going to do the same thing when you dress, especially for creative industries. Each creative industry has a brand. Marketers are the same. Each one has a brand, and so you're going to want to understand that brand as thoroughly as you possibly can. That means going on their website. It means reading up on their customer reviews. It means looking at how they take pictures, the editorials, things like that, to get cues about what does this brand care about? What are the values that they're projecting in their content? You know, maybe it's on their social media, things like that. And then how can I exude those things in the way that I show up physically? It sounds like a lot, right? You're like, wait, I'm going to do that much thinking about my outfit? Yes. Because this is the difference between come back for a second interview, you understand what we do here, and I don't know if she understood the assignment. Right? So we want to make sure that we understood the assignment, because now we understand the expectations, right? We understand the values that they care about, and we're going to pick those things up and replicate those things into what we wear. How do I do that? I got a story. So whenever I changed my career into fashion, when I interviewed for jobs in healthcare before, I was supposed to wear the normal stuff, slacks, a button down, you know, a jacket, you know, very minimal makeup, nothing on my hands, you know, very easy, very laid back kind of look. So if you're in healthcare, I'll tell you the healthcare look is very straight. It's much more conservative. You don't want anything, you know, low cut, not too tight, you know, things that are going to be, you know, allow them to focus on what your credentials are and not so much on your outfit. You want them to look past their clothes to your face. Now, in fashion or creative industries, we want to take in the whole package. We want to see the whole image of who you are as a person, because the things that you choose, the interesting jewelry that you might put on your wrist or a couple of statement rings, you know, this is kind of communicating your personality and how you might, you know, fit in with the rest of the design team. Oh, she's got really, you know, cool statement jewelry. Oh, she seems to like a similar designer as someone else who's on our team already. Or, you know, you're not going to know that. You're going to be honest to yourself, right? You're going to be authentic because you want to be on the right team for you. But in terms of how you show up to a creative interview, you're going to choose things that say, I understand what this brand is about. I was interning at Rebecca Taylor in New York. And the head designer at that place told me, hey, American Eagle is hiring. I gave them your name, go for the interview. And I was like, thank you so much. I need someone to vouch for me, right, and give me an opportunity. So I go over to American Eagle, and she's like, wait, what are you wearing for this interview? And I was like, like a jacket. They said it was casual, so I'll just wear some like dark jeans or like, or I know I'm not gonna I won't wear a belt. I was literally trying to make it like healthcare, but it wasn't casual enough. So she told me the story. She said, no, you're not wearing that. She's like, do you have a pair of jeans? I was like, to an interview? She's like, yes. Do you have a pair of jeans? And I was like, no. She's like, do you have a printed blouse? And I was like, no. I was like, to an interview? She's like, yes. Do you have these things? And I was like, no, I need to go shopping. And so, thank goodness H&M had a sale, or, Macy's had a sale. But she educated me on how critical it was that I looked like American Eagle Outfitters when I walked in the door. I had to look like the brand so that they knew that I could make clothes for them. If I walked in wearing a slick suit and pointy high heels and, looked like I had carved out my face, they were like, you don't know what we're about here. And they had actually turned someone away who was wearing a full suit that was not a good fit for their brand at all. And so I'm happy to say I got the job. But thank goodness she stepped in and told me that I needed to change up my look. And so with creative industry, it's really important to understand what does the brand look like and how should you show up for that brand if that's the direction you decide to go in. So fashion design business, similar. You want the whole story to be consistent. So if you're making high-end, contemporary, minimal clothing, keep the whole story the same. Your clothes look the same, your resume looks the same. Everything tells one clear story. If you are working in a trendy business, get the studded boots. Work with the, go all out because they're gonna trust your eye, they're gonna trust what you're able to bring to the table. If I'm gonna go more office professional and I wanna be, C-suite, I wanna be chief of staff, or I'm gonna work alongside of other managers, or I aspire to be a manager. I've heard a really wonderful rule of thumb that says dress 25% better than the job that you're applying for. So if you are kind of saying, I want to be an executive assistant, I would also take a look and see, what's the next job above executive assistant? Is that something that I would like to become? And how do I think that person would dress for this role? Because you want them to see you for long term and not just for today. And so that may be the difference between wearing a jacket or not. It may be the difference between, pressing your shirt just a little crisper. There are little things you can do. It may be the difference between a really flashy pair of jewelry, a really big flashy piece of something if you're going for an office, or wearing something that's a little bit more understated, which I would recommend. Going a little bit more understated. I love your necklace that you're wearing, choreographer. It's a beautiful, something like this it's a statement piece, but it's still very minimal, and so it's easy to pair with a lot of things. These are things you guys can do that have pieces that really mean something to you. You're carrying something that you care about with you into that meeting, but it doesn't have to be a very loud, big piece of something that you bring. So, the last thing that I want us to talk about, do you guys have questions about that? Yes.
Well, I just wanted to add something because I know for menswear, I finally went to an interview because for so many years people have told us wear a tie with your suit. But I finally did an interview without a tie, and I wore a bright colored shirt with my coat, and I still looked fly. So not every job you have to wear a tie for.
Absolutely. Sometimes they will prefer that you not wear a tie because, again, it's a part of the culture of, the way that they'll do business. So, for example, if you guys are getting into STEM, different kinds of technology, companies, I'm sure you've looked around Austin, and there's not a lot of full-on suits happening, in a lot of places. And so sometimes it's step back to a polo, or it's step back to like a button down, or it's step back to a sport coat and a statement shirt, or something like this. And so there's different ways to show up professionally, but a lot of that's going to be ask the interviewer, what is the preferred dress for the office? If you don't know, you can always ask. They appreciate that. You can ask, about how will the other interviewers be dressed for this, interview? Because sometimes it's a little awkward if you show up and you're like dressed to the nines and everyone else is really casual, or vice versa. And so it's helpful to ask those questions, and it'll show them that you care about making sure that you're showing up appropriately. So this is kind of brings us to this topic now, is what is the brand of the business? Is it formal, casual, or are we unsure? And so this is when we get a chance to ask questions into the understanding what that brand is really all about. Did I miss a industry that we were talking about earlier for how should I show up for my interview or working on the job? Did everybody feel like they got an answer? Okay. You can tell me if you need someone to fill it out. Okay, sounds good. Just want to make sure I'm doing my job. All right. So this is an area that I wanted to make sure to cover because this is changing rapidly. Do any of you have a side hustle? Like a Amazon seller account, or sell a few things on your social media, an NFT? So these things are changing rapidly, okay? So you guys are in the age of you can kind of do what you want. There's some freelancer space of owning your own business, being able to create your own way, selling through social media, being an influencer, the like to know it. There's all kinds of ways to make money on the internet through your social media account or through YouTube. You can do ads on your videos. There's all kinds of stuff, right? So many different ways to make money. But what if you're a freelancer of your own business? This was kind of the fashion designer question earlier. A lot of times what you want to do with this space is that you want to make sure that you look like the authority in what you're talking about. So if you're like, I'm a fashion person, and everyone's like, yeah, okay. You want to make sure that you kind of presented yourself in a way that is believable, And it doesn't mean you have to buy all new clothes. It doesn't mean that you have to completely redo everything, but there's smart ways to kind of present yourself, even adopting a very simple uniform, certain colors or cut of a t-shirt or cut of a tank top that you really like, so that people can focus on what you have to say. These are things that are ways that you can kind of communicate in that freelancer space. If you're working and you're kind of connecting with other businesses directly, you're probably going to want to adopt something that feels like a medium conservative / personal wardrobe, which is kind of why I chose these two looks. One of them has kind of this polka dot button-down shirt and a pair of slacks. The polka dots are a little bit playful and fun and friendly, but it's still a button-down blouse. And so it looks like it really matches with her personality, but it still takes me seriously, so I can focus on the work that we're here to do. Similar, the guy here on the other side, he is, working at his laptop, and maybe he's conducting a meeting or connecting with a future client, and so he's going to want to make sure that they see him as professional as he actually is. And so these are things like little cues in your freelance business will kind of communicate authority. Sounds a little silly, but a collar on a shirt commands authority. A shoulder on a jacket commands authority. These angles and lines actually add a little bit more, I'm standing up a little straighter now. You can, it frames my face. It kind of, resonates my voice. There's things about those details that really help to kind of establish and kind of present you in that business to business space a bit more. So these are some things you might want to think about if you're a freelancer or you own your own business. If you're selling directly to your consumer, your best bet is connecting with what they love about you, which is going to be more personality driven than anything else. So for choreographers, or you're building a community of people who love to do what you do and are paying you to do what you do, this is a really great place to allow your creativity and your ideas to really shine through in the way that you like to pull yourself together. There's beautiful loungewear, pieces that really are kind of structured but are still very easy to move in. There's a lot of really amazing pieces that are happening now. But the last thing I wanted to mention on this is what you wear is a part of your story, right? You're like a whole person inside of there. And so what's going on during all of this time, 2 years of a pandemic, all the crazy things that have probably taken place, everyone's got a story of the things that have taken place. How you show up matters. There is, I saw this image of this guy knocking down all of these boxes of, you may not be able to read it, but I'll read it to you. It's a breakup, work, deadlines, anxiety, problems, we'll throw in homework, projects, stress. These are all things that this guy is like knocking over, because he is probably just worn out. These last 2 years have been exhausting. We're tired of wearing the mask. We're tired of doing all of this stuff, and yet I still need to put my best foot forward. And so, taking the time to take a deep breath, recenter yourself, understand your why. Why do you want this job? Why do you want to be here? Is this really going to take you to your next step? And really thinking about that. How you show up really matters, and people can feel your energy, right? They can feel your vibe. Like they're like, oh, I connect to her for some reason, But it takes a bit of time for us to be able to kind of peel off all of the things that we walked in with that day, all of the many things that they could possibly be, and then to show up for other people, so that we're able to kind of move into our next, right? To get our next job, to get our next opportunity. And so as we look at, what it takes to style yourself professionally, it's not just what you have on your body, it's also the state of mind that you show up with as well. In the Zoom era, we're going from IRL to virtual and back again. There's a lot of this kind of boomerang, we were in person before the pandemic, we're going into virtual, and now there's some hybrid of the two. It will continue to be this way, I think, for some time, and so finding ways that we can do things that feel natural and good to us, that feel like it's representing the real you, whether you're trendy or classic or a little bit of both. And then, making sure that it represents where it is that you're trying to go, that it looks like what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and end our talk here for today. I've really enjoyed getting a chance to learn about all of the different areas that you're interested in. You guys are brilliant, beautiful people, all of you. And I can't wait to see all the amazing things that you do. Best of luck.
Well, we want to take the time to thank Nina Means, who serves as our director of Fashion Incubator here at Austin Community College. She obviously shared with you some of her expertise, some of the wonderful opportunities. She didn't tell you about her study in Italy while she was preparing, and she is actually a designer on her own, in her own right. She has her own fashion that she comes up with. So, I mean, you have the best and the benefit of a wonderfully talented lady. So we want to thank her for her time today and her insights. And we want to, also encourage you to reach out to her if you think about fashion as something that you may be interested in pursuing, whether it's on the side, after you attend this class that she talked about, this free class she talked about that's, just a 7-week thing at the evening. If you're interested in doing that, it's not going to cost you anything but time. Something to think about. But check back with her, because that's why we're here. We're here to help you explore and to think about all of the different aspects of what's going to make you a better, more successful adult and help you to make that transition as smooth as possible. So we want to thank Nina Means. Thank her again.
Thank you, Loretta.
I also want to thank the gentleman in the back, Balan Villanueva. He is the one that has really helped us to do this virtually and make sure that everything is running smoothly. Awesome guy, and really appreciate his talent and his appearance here today. Thank you, thank you. I also want to thank Antonio. Antonio has helped us with the social media part of it. I know, and I appreciate you guys being here from Aikens. Really appreciate it. As I mentioned to the gentleman before, I had the pleasure and the privilege of being the next door neighbor to the school that the man that your school is named after, Dr. Aikens, and I happen to be on the school board to make the nomination for him being selected. So it's a real pleasure. You guys have an awesome, awesome legacy and an awesome school, and this gentleman here is also celebrating a birthday today. So I'm trying to make sure I'm catching up with everybody. Really appreciate your presence here today. Thank you so much. Hopefully you're leaving here with some helpful tools. I know I am. I didn't even think about whether I'm classic or both, or or trendy. Obviously, you got to be slightly trendy, because I wouldn't be caught. I wouldn't be caught dead walking in here if I was going for an interview in sneakers. I mean, that just wouldn't happen like 20 years ago. But, it's a different phase. Yep. But again, so I learned something. Hope you did too. Hope you will take advantage of where you are and that you won't be a stranger. This is one of 11 campuses. And we really sincerely hope that you'll come back and spend some time with us, because we would love to be your educational partner to help you to start here and get there, wherever there is. Thank you again.